This is the 2022 Audi e-tron Quattro Chronos Edition, and it's probably the coolest looking e-tron SUV you are ever likely to see. And today I'm going to review it and let you know exactly what I think. So the e-tron was launched in 2019 and Audi deliberately made it look very conventional. It's very easy on the eye. It has tons of tech inside. It's beautifully made and doesn't look like it was designed by a man with a massive hangover. It really is a very good looking car. So under the hood, the Audi e-tron SUV does offer a small front. Most of the time you leave these cables in here, but it does have some additional room for flat-ish groceries. So there are two electric motors, one located at the front axle, the other at the rear, and both of those provide electronic all-wheel drive, but the rear motor does most of the work. So in regular driving situations, they make a combined 355 horsepower, 414 foot-pounds of torque. But put the transmission in sport mode and you briefly unlock 402 horsepower and 490 pound-feet. So knowing that SUVs weigh quite a lot, this one follows that trend. It's about 5,875 pounds, but it's fairly brisk with the sort of power that I just mentioned. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. It's not as quick as a Model Y, but it certainly is more luxurious. So check out this cool charge port cover. A little press of this button right here lowers it down. Now you've got your standard 240 here. Flip this for super fast charging. Now the bad news is this car will only go 213 miles on a full battery. I've charged it at home a couple of times and it really only shows around 196, so just a bit short of 200, which is not a lot. Good news is though, it will recoup energy at 150 kilowatts, and the regen is actually really good too, as long as you don't go up too many steep hills. So the e-tron offers height adjustable air suspension, so normal ride height is 6.8 inches. Anything above 75 miles per hour drops the ride height by 1 inch to improve aerodynamics and handling. Switch to off-road mode using the Drive Select menu and you get an additional 1.4 inches of ground clearance, taking the total to 8.2. So Audi claims an 18.2 degree approach angle, a 24.4 degree departure angle, and a 16.8 degree breakover angle. Although it's not the kind of car for this kind of price that I would probably want to take off-road. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the Chronos Edition, so this one has $17,500 of additional stuff on top of the base price, which is $65,900. So out the door it's around $85,000, which is quite a lot. But that package does include these 21-inch V-spoke wheels, these massive yellow painted calipers. They're painted yellow all around. It's also got these digital matrix design headlights, which are really cool, and then there's a lot of black going on. Audi 4 rings. This is all obviously solid, being an electric vehicle, and e-tron written right here. You also get massaging front seats, beautiful Valcona leather covered seating surfaces, and then this amazing acoustic glass on the front windows. Looks pretty good from the back too, with these slightly smoked rear lights here, 4 black Audi rings, some black treatment under here, and then inside the trunk you get actually a decent amount of space, 28.5 cubic feet with the seats up, a little over 58 cubic feet with those seats down, and then under here, if you lift this up, not only do you get a spare wheel, but you also get a storage bin here, which is actually removable. I guess you can put liquids in there. It's actually pretty cool. And then obviously a little net for groceries. It also comes with this really nicely made luggage cover. The only problem with it is I took it off and I can't get it back. It's the most fiddly, annoying mechanism I've ever seen, which is kind of odd coming from the Germans. So I certainly can't complain about the back seat. It is very comfortable. Again, a super soft Valcona leather. If it gets a little bit too warm, I can put this up as well. I've got my vents are right here in the door frame. They're also right here. I've got all my different controls. I get heated seats in the back as well. I got a nice little armrest here with a really nice little mechanism for a couple of cups there. And then a little storage cubby here for something quite thin. beautifully made. Another thing that I kind of like too is the headrests at the front. You can move them back and forth. Very helpful for the ladies who have a ponytail that complain that the headrest is pushing their head forward. So definitely well thought out. A little bit of storage space right here, and then down at the bottom you've got two fast USBs and 12 volts of power. So you're definitely not short of creature comforts on the inside, and once again, as is typical with Audis, beautifully made. And I have to say, these are some of the most comfortable seats that I've ever sat in. They're not too soft, they're not too hard. Typically German seats can be a little on the firm side. These have plenty of cushioning, plenty of side bolstering, plenty of leg bolstering. Yeah, some of my favorite seats ever, I think. And then the rest of it is just absolutely exquisitely made. So Audis these days have two distinct screens in some of their vehicles, and this one you can go into here, look at phone apps, radio, media, various different settings for your ambient lighting, all that good stuff. Vehicle is the one where you can go in and you can check your battery level. It is ahead of the driver as well. And then you can also press Drive Select down here and choose between efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic, individual, where you can change everything to sporty, balance, comfortable, etc. I just have it in balance. This is not a sports vehicle. And then when you go back in here, you can also, as I explained earlier, go to off-road, and then you can see right there, it's raising the ride height, which will be very helpful for me when I get off this dirt section. Unfortunately, the menu doesn't stay on very long, so you have to keep clicking it. And then there we are, we've now got up to a slightly higher ride height. Really easy to use. I like the little click each time you do that. It loads fast. Navigation's pretty cool too. And then down below, as I said, you've got all the HVAC controls, including hill descent control. Now, because we're in off-road mode, it's now lit up this hill descent control. You've got a bunch of other controls for your HVAC. You've got massaging seats. You can control that on the side of the seat. Heat and cold as well. And then you've got traction control off. Haven't really played around with that too much. Your stop-start button, your physical volume control, also available on the steering wheel. So further down in the center console, you get this sort of interesting sort of grip. It isn't actually the shifter itself. The shifter is right here. We can move it into reverse, back into park, and then there's your electronic parking brake. And then down below here, I put my phone there, but you've got a little sliding mechanism, two different cup holders. You can fold those in completely to create more space if you want, or pull those back up. And there's a little bit of space here as well for keys, etc. No Wi-Fi charger. This one's supposed to, according to the paperwork, have a Wi-Fi charger in here, and it doesn't, but oh well. It's a big miss for $85,000. Got some pretty decently high def camera systems here. The overhead one is really helpful for parking. There's a front cam, a rear cam, a 3D cam. There's a cam for everything that you need, and there's a 3D cam that shows you the rear of the car simulated. So it also has this interesting sort of styling on the dash. It makes me feel like I need to wipe it down all the time. It looks a little bit like paint that's oxidized on the outside of a car. It's not my favorite, but hey, I'm sure that for this price you could choose various different options. Down on the driver's door, you get memory seats for both sides. Okay, so now it's time to take it for a drive. We've established that the interior is absolutely beautiful. It looks really, really cool from the outside as well, but how does it drive? Well, let's go. I'm on this little off-road section. There's a little bit of a hill to go down, so I'm going to leave it in off-road mode, so the ride height's going to be a little higher than normal. Move the selector to D. So off we go, and smooth and serene is the name of the game for this Audi. Alright, I gotta watch it here. There's a couple of little ruts as we inch our way off here. And we made it without any scrapes. So I'm now going to readjust and go into dynamic mode. So now the system's lowering the suspension down. Even in dynamic mode, it isn't really that harsh. It's actually supremely soft. So the first thing you notice is how amazingly quiet it is in here. I feel like I should have a library card just to drive it. So quiet, it's amazing. Of course, normally I would have like some music playing and stuff like that, so it wouldn't be as quiet as this, but yeah, I mean, you can hear the regen and you can hear the motors, but so quiet. And these Continentals are really nice. You hardly hear anything. You don't hear much in the way of wind noise. I mean, fabulous piece of engineering, this car really is. Anyway, once you get going, it just feels very conventional, except it doesn't have a conventional powertrain. It's obviously all electric, so as with any electric car, there's no delay. The torque is instant. But this isn't a particularly quick car. You're not going to feel that neck-snapping acceleration of an e-tron GT, for example, that I drove a couple of weeks ago. But I've been driving this car for a couple of days now, and it just feels so nice, especially with these unbelievable seats. I'm very, very impressed with how good these seats are. But anyway, put your foot down, and it's actually pretty decently quick. I mean, 5.3 seconds to 60 is quicker than a lot of cars. It's quicker than a lot of SUVs. So you can't really complain about that. I mean, it's got the performance that you need. And then it just... Now, as I said before, it does regen quite well. I have taken this up to the mountains where I had 196 miles of range, and to do a 50-mile trip took about 90 some miles of range. So I had 100 miles of range, but on the way back going downhill, I regened back about 35 miles of range. And what this car does, which is, it seems a little bit odd, it almost feels like when you're going downhill that you're freewheeling. I had no feet on the pedals, and it was maintaining a 75 to 80 mile an hour almost free wheel down these hills, and then at the same time regenning the battery, and quite considerably regenning the battery. So even though it doesn't have a lot of range, it does regen really well. So I'm kind of excited about the new Q8 version of this, which is coming out hopefully next year, which should have more than 300 miles of range. And if it regens like this one, it'll be amazing. And then there's no creep. We're stopped, and it applies the brake. There's a little green thing, and then you hit that, and then the automatic brake comes off. So, off we go. Wasn't flooring it from a standstill, but we're at 60 miles an hour already. This definitely has plenty of performance that most people would want. It doesn't lack in the performance department. You're just not going to win any drag races from a stoplight with a Model Y. All right, so we're going to turn around here. And we are going to see if we can get... All right, let's go back here. And yeah, it definitely feels like pushes you in the back. Gonna attack some of these turns a little quicker now. Now we got nobody blocking us. And this is a pretty tight little twisty road. One thing that is really good are these brakes. I mean, you saw the size of the calipers on the front. These brakes are really good. Yeah, it's kind of fun at speed too. This thing's got a little sportiness to it. And then you kick out of a turn, and it's got that torque, and it just goes. Amazing. So with the transmission and the settings in the sportiest setting, we get that additional horsepower, and you can feel it. It does feel like it does want to understeer a little bit on the limit, which is to be expected. It's on the safe side, but even though it weighs like 5,800 pounds, this thing is fun. All right, let's give it some beans along here. Man, this thing goes even at higher speed. The acceleration is still there. It doesn't seem to tail off at much higher speeds, which is nice. Well, $85,000 is a lot of money. The Chronos package for $1,700 makes this car look really cool. I've seen a couple of e-trons on the road, but not one that looks this cool. This blue is amazing with the black, the wheels, the whole look looks amazing. But it's a lot of money. $85,000 is a lot of money to spend on a car, but I think that this one's worth it. And it's absolutely lovely to drive. I mean, just really, really nice to drive. So what do we think? Well, in many ways, the Audi is very conventional in its futuristicness. It isn't oddly styled. It has a beautiful interior. It drives really nicely, has enough acceleration to get out of most situations. It's actually decently fun to drive. Its biggest failing is, unfortunately, 213 miles of range, but the new Audi e-tron Q8 has just been announced and supposedly will have more than 300 miles of range. If the pricing stays similar to this becomes a very, very compelling vehicle. Probably one of the nicest cars that I've driven all year. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time with another video. Out.